Hello everyone and welcome to the next Winds of Change, I guess, tutorial. Cleansing Shenzun tunnels. Unlike the first two quests, which were just going through an area and killing a few groups of enemies, this one's actually a little more complex. So we end up having to defend an area, basically. Before we do that though, there's a few groups of Ampha we have to deal with. These two groups, you can get them separately, but way I do it, I aggro them from below, and they all have to run down that little staircase, and it tends to end up with them being nicely clumped up, so you can your melee hate can focus on the assassins, which tend to be all balled up, and the casters tend to also be nicely clumped up, and panic can really be used to full effect there to shut down the necromancers. And then I guess there's some enemies which don't ball up fully, but I find these groups are usually easy enough to deal with that you don't need to bother trying to get them separately if you can just funnel them like this. You could also funnel them further along so they are actually on the staircase, meaning they can't really spread out much. But as you can see, this works quite nicely. If your team build can handle the afflicted, then these Ampha should not be an issue. It should be noted though that these are in fact updated Ampha, so they do have Winds of Change builds, which means they make use of their secondaries, and they have advanced combat capabilities, or phrase this as you will, but for Winds of Change a lot of the enemies have gotten their builds updated, and they're running sort of more useful bars, modeled on, I believe in Winds of Change they are largely modeled on player hero builds. So stuff like the necro ritualist or necro monk support heroes that, I guess necro monk not so much, but necro ritualist has been used quite extensively. I guess I'm also using a necro monk, so there you go. And yeah, these builds have been modeled in part on those. So they might very well have necromancers who are healers because of the superior energy management that they get from soul reaping, stuff like that. And yeah, the enemies also get pretty high attributes, so it's no longer safe to ignore an assassin because they don't do much damage. These guys will probably have 16 to 20 dagger mastery, at least 13 critical strikes, so they will get 3 energy per crit they do. Anyway, we're now down in this section. We get a bunch of NPCs. This first group, you usually have enough time to just kill it. After all, there's 8 of your party members, and then there's your NPCs, which also, as you can see, they're level 28, so they do decent damage. The initiates that aren't Zairi will follow you as soon as you're in range. Zairi instead will basically stay on his location, and he doesn't follow as easily. As you can see, he's kind of standing there, so if you're engaging enemies too far away from him, he's not always going to join in. But he does move. He's not stuck to his location. He does move a bit, just not as much. And yeah, you really want to be careful in this quest. A major danger is over aggroing. I guess you'll see that at some point that there will be multiple groups fighting me at the same time. The most problematic is actually the NPCs. At least one of them has a shadow step of some description, something like Death's Charge. I'm not sure if that's the one he actually uses, but something like it. He can shadow step to enemies. And very often when you're carefully trying to pull a group, as soon as you've got aggro, he'll just jump in and aggro a bunch of additional groups. So that can happen. It's similar to how your minions run into melee range, but your minions tend to run into whatever closest to them, so that's not always such an issue. The NPCs are a little more finicky at times. So as you can see right here, I've now got aggro of multiple groups, and that does tend to cause problems. The most annoying thing is, or one of the, I guess, issues you need to be aware of, sometimes you do not want to actually kill an enemy very quickly. If he's standing around your backline and you're currently struggling, and then you kill the enemy, he's going to explode and cause more damage. So that can be a bit disadvantageous. There are actually situations where you do not want an enemy to die right now, because that would kill your party members as well. So yeah. I kind of recovered from the over aggro. A second group came in, or a third group, I guess at that point, though it was not that bad anymore. It came in from behind. Basically in this quest the enemies just all keep running from various directions into the central pit there. And you, yeah, you really don't want to over aggro. I have also seen the tactic to just trigger them running in and then... Wow, that was a siren outside. I hope that wasn't too loud. You just run in, trigger the group spawning, and then you run away, and then you try to longbow pull them separately. That can work, but sometimes the NPCs just really mess it up by just randomly jumping into the center of 5 groups, and then you just screwed. But yeah, using a longbow is definitely recommended for this. Obviously, it doesn't need to be a modded longbow on my PvE characters. I usually just run with whatever longbow I can find. So very often that will be whatever longbow first drops for the character is what I end up running with. But yeah, you can longbow pull these groups separately. Depending on how far you want to pull them, though, the minions and the NPCs will pull additional groups, as it happened right here. But I was in a good enough position to handle it still. Now, of course, a major difference between the normal mode and hard mode is that the enemies attack faster in hard mode. So a skill like Spiteful Spirit, which in normal mode was somewhat weakish, it becomes a lot more useful. Okay, as soon as your character says this line, this looks like it's going to be the last of them, you only have to deal with this one more group which spawns in the middle. Nothing else runs in there, you just deal with this one group, which is actually kind of easy. For some reason the character says they're going to throw everything they have at us. It really is just that one group. I guess it's a little smaller than the 4 men or 4 enemy groups. I'm not sure if you want to call these men. It's a bit bigger than these small 4-man groups you've been fighting so far, but it's still easily manageable. As you can see, it's not problematic. The main issue is over-aggroing while you're fighting in the center, so I'd always recommend waiting on the side. At least taking care of everything that runs through that side, and then dealing with the groups in the center separately if at all possible. And yeah, that's this quest. It's not that bad really, and good luck when you do it.